another one.
All right, so it says how to get from software testing to security testing and maybe even ethical hacking. Ethical, of course, always ethical. All right. So at the moment, I am in the process of trying to get into a software testing traineeship, as I have found that I really like programming, but my skills aren't strong enough yet to get into software development. Through that, my dad, shout out to the fathers out there, actually suggested that I could get into security testing if that was something I was interested in. I've read up on it and I'm super stoked. And right now, I think that's where I really want to end up eventually. However, I will need to start. However, I will need to start off with the basics. My recruiter asked me what role in software testing I was particularly interested in, and they will eventually need to find a suitable company to place me in. So far, I found that it's probably best to start off as a manual tester to get familiar with testing in general, and maybe gradually implement code and become an automation tester. The thing is, the thing I'm specifically interested in are building testing data sets, building the code for testing, unit testing, and testing whether different parts of the code work together. Though I'm assuming that this is just part of one job, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, my question is, what is the best way from entry level software testing to eventually security testing and ethical hacking? Also, is security testing its own job, as in a specific career track, or is it more part of a, is it part, geez, these, the grammar on these sometimes, or is it part of a more general job like unit testing maybe is? All right. So thank you for struggling with me through that question. Now, let's put 5 minutes on the clock. And we shall go with Don first. Security testing is a lot like QA testing with a different focus. I do both. Yeah. So I was thinking the same thing, right? Security testing and QA testing is just the focus. You know, you can be in QA and do security testing. It just depends on like how the company might break it down, right? But I would say that you kind of I do think that going in like you kind of have to get into QA first before you start expanding to different types of testing. But the problem is getting into QA is not easy either. Even as a manual testing job, which those don't really exist anymore, which had to break a few hearts letting them know that. Um, but shout out to my other barbarian who asked me early, and I got him on the right track already. Right. Anyways, we'll save that. But security testing. So if you want to get into QA, like so you kind of have to go through QA, which if you had like maybe cybersecurity certification and degrees and all that good stuff, you might be able to avoid like the QA route. But it depends on what type of security testing you're doing as well, right? Because there's like penetration testing, there's like database testing, all that type of stuff, right? Where people are trying to hack into the system. So it just depends which type of testing you're doing, but getting into QA, that is not as easy as you may think, right? Because so many people they're applying for QA jobs and they cannot get it. My recommendation at times, which I shouldn't be giving this out publicly, but my recommendation is like sometimes you have to go through another route. Like you might have to go into another level of entry, maybe a help desk support, technical support, and then within that company, you try to jump around from there until you get to your QA job, and then maybe your security job, and then from that security job, then you might be able to now you can really start going to other companies and stuff like that because you have built your resume, you have built your experience. But without the experience, like when I was talking to that HR person, right? They said a lot of times your your um your resume doesn't match what's being applied for, right? Your resume doesn't match the job you're applying for, and that's a big problem, you know. But if you don't have the experience, how is your resume gonna match? You have to start lower. You have to start at the bottom, like everybody else did. You think that boot camp is gonna give you a shortcut? You think getting that ISTQB certification is gonna give you a shortcut to the top? Doesn't mean anything to me. I like to see the experience on the resume to see like what have you done? What value did you bring? Right? Even if like w- one of the mistakes that I think that boot camps make when they write your resume for you, they don't put it like a lot of them don't put your past experience. What have you been doing for the past 10 years, the past 20 years? You have like only 3 months of experience. And when I see that, I'm like, all right, not even bothering. So you gotta take that into consideration. Um, you have to like if your recruiter can get you into a QA position, whatever QA position they can get you into, take it. And then you start to and then you start to learn from there. Study, get courses, practice, you know. You can't be like Allen Iverson like practice. We talking about practice? Yes, we always talking about practice. Always talking about practice. You get into the position, you learn the job there, and then you gotta spend like another 15 to 20 hours a week getting better on yourself, not only on the job learning, right? So let's see what Don has to say. Don says, if you are doing UI testing in web, you are sometimes asked to check OOP top 10 and cores testing. Yup. Or OWASP, right? And Don said, I started in tech support just like I did. I also started in tech support. It allowed me to truly understand how users use the product, then jumped into QA. Facts. Shout out to Don. And when I started in tech support, it was for a web hosting company. So that taught me a lot about how things on the web work. And so like setting up like DNS, domain names, web hosting, how things are pointed to each other, who is records, all that stuff. This is from like about mm, almost 20 years ago, and I'm still spitting this stuff out. I still use it because like when I'm setting up websites and everything like that, I know how to go into GoDaddy or whatever the registrar is, change the name servers, point it to a different place, set up the emails, configure the configure like Outlook or whatever mail client I'm using to be able to put in the emails, all that good stuff, right? I still use it, but I would have been missing that information if I didn't start at the bottom. You know, let go of your pride, get some work done. And then Don also says, even though I request, even though I request access to the support tickets, Slack, just to get better understanding our users. Facts. Like I said the other day, I think it was last Tuesday. I asked, what is the top priority of QA? Actually, it wasn't last Tuesday. I think it was the Tuesday before that. What is the top priority of QA? Like what is your number one goal, right? Because I think the question was if you disagree with a product owner or someone on the team, right? And what's the main goal, right? And we had different answers, which they were very technical answers, but the answer that I gave was the the number one priority is customer satisfaction. The customers pay our bills, so we have to make sure they're happy. So if you disagree with if you can't agree on like a bug or a design decision or something like that, who cares? Like, try it out. If we're doing agile, we can change it. We can change it after we see that it's not working right. We change it. We adjust. We pivot. We move. Right? That's the goal, to make the customer happy. If they don't like it, and if enough customers say they don't like it, then we have to change. All right. So that's that. And does exercise the skills allow you to pay them bills? Facts.
Message.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.
Enigmatic Joker.